number 7 of the Weekly Wrap. Hi guys, welcome back to episode number 7 of the Weekly Wrap. I, as always, am your host, Ben. I am having way too much fun today, and let's get into the news. Now in film news, we have a new trailer finally for the upcoming film Finding Dory. Now the film is going to take place with Dory, the character from Finding Nemo, who is trying to find her family. She finally remembers where they are and she goes off in search of them. And you can check out that trailer here.
I remembered something! That's not possible. Is it? Okay, is it like a picture in your head? And then you think I've seen this before? I just used the word before, which means I'm remembering something. What was I talking about?
Somewhere.
My family! They're out there somewhere. I have to find them. I remembered something important.
Something important? What?
Something about a clam or...
No.
No, an oyster.
No.
Mollusk?
No.
Something?
No.
I don't know.
No clam.
All the feels. Now this movie is going to take place having Dory, as I said before, trying to go and find her family. Now she doesn't actually get there at first, and she will end up at a marine life institute where she'll meet a couple of whales and an octopus who are joining the cast as well. I'm sure we'll be excited for this movie and keep an eye open for it when it comes out in 2017. Now, as you guys might remember from last week, we covered a story about Daniel Fleetwood, an extreme Star Wars fan who wanted to see The Force Awakens before he passed away. Thankfully, he got enough traction on the internet and was able to see an unedited version of the film before he passed. Unfortunately, however, on November 10th, Daniel Fleetwood did pass away. He was survived by his wife, who left a statement. Daniel put up an amazing fight in the very end. He is now with God and the Force. He passes asleep and in peace. He will always be my idol. And this is actually a picture of the last selfie they ever took together. Now for video game news, Nintendo Direct came out recently and had a whole mess of news. Now there's way too much for me to cover all right now, so I'll hit some of my favorites, including the fact that Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow will be re-released 20 years after their original release. There will be a Mega Man collection with all of the old games, as well as a golden Mega Man amiibo, and my personal favorite, Cloud from Final Fantasy, will be joining the roster on Super Smash Bros. And I'm going to buy all of these things because they're awesome. Now, while we usually have a witty and comical demeanor on the show, it is time to talk about something a bit more serious. On November 13th, Paris, France was the victim of several terrorist attacks. There were bombings and shootings in several parts of the city, and over 120 people lost their lives. Now, as at this time, I would ask all of you that you keep Paris in your thoughts and your prayers, and right now I think it'd be very respectful if we could just take a moment of silence for those who have lost their lives. Let's move on. Alright guys, now usually on the show we're going to do more like the review kind of things, but this week there's not really any good movies out, there's not really a game I'm playing at the moment that I want to talk about, so instead we're going to do a top 10 list of my favorite video games. Now these aren't necessarily the most critically acclaimed, they're not the most profitable of all time, they're just my favorites. So let's get started.
Number 10.
My number 10 is Kingdom Hearts. Now this is a game series that's been out for several years, but I've only been playing it for about one. This game has several different entries, spreading all the way from the PlayStation 2, the Nintendo 3DS, the PlayStation Portable, and it's been all over the place, as well as the story. It's a lot of fun, but it's really confusing. It's basically like a Christopher Nolan film on drugs. But if you can keep up and stay tuned for everything, it's a fun experience that you gotta check out.
Number 9.
Now the Jak and Daxter franchise is one of my favorites. In the heyday of the PlayStation 2 era, which I think is the best era of gaming ever. Now the best of these has gotta be Jak and Daxter 3. The first game was extremely lighthearted and fun, and the second game was super gritty and dark. And this game was a great mix of the two. The combat is intense, the storyline is fun, and the comedy is just there when it needs to be. I really recommend this game, and this one is, I don't care what all you nerds think, this is the best of the three.
Number 8.
Now, the Portal games are extremely fun and witty. You'll be thinking the entire way through, and I think for that reason, Portal 2 is the much better game. It's got amazing humor and great gameplay mechanics. The physics of the portals just working is just amazing. And the puzzles that you have to solve are nothing short of mind-boggling. And once you get through the game, there's always a fun time that you can have playing the co-op campaign, which is a great way to make friends or lose them. Parker.
Number 7.
Now, The Last of Us has been called the Citizen Kane of gaming, so in my opinion, It might as well fit that description. It's amazing. Some of the best graphics that I've ever seen, even on the PlayStation 3. When they finally converted it to the PS4, it's even better. The story is amazing and one of the best tales you've ever seen in gaming, and the gameplay is so tight and terrifying, you're gonna want to play this one with the lights on.
Number 6.
Now, what I said before about the PlayStation 2 having some of the best games, I really mean that. And even better than the Jak and Daxter franchise, in my opinion, is the Sly Cooper franchise. The third one is easily the best. You get to go on a pirate ship. You get to go to Africa. You get to go to Paris, kind of, I think. It's amazing. You've got to play this game just for the combat and just for the humor. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Number 5.
Now, my number 5 is a game that I absolutely love from growing up. Now, the Splinter Cell franchise is one of my favorites from growing up. My dad and I used to play it all the time, and I just adore that series. And the best one, in my opinion, has got to be Chaos Theory. It's got an amazing story and like a really amazing dark and light sensor as well as a sound sensor. So you really get into it and feel like you're a super spy and pew pew. And also I played this game for like a week and then every day afterwards I wanted to shoot out light bulbs because that's what you do in the game. So.
Number 4.
Now, when it comes to PlayStation 1 games, which is where I really started playing games, it was Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. Now I didn't play the first one, I just jumped straight into the second one because the box looked cooler, I guess. But it was so much fun. I get to play as a little dragon, charging about, collecting talismans, defeating enemies, on and on. That was my childhood. Just sitting in a chair, playing that game, and eating junk food. It was the dream.
Number 3.
Now my number 3 is Spider-Man 2. Now this is easily the best movie game of all time, and one of the best superhero games of all time. The web swinging, I cannot talk enough about how great it was. I think it's still the game that got the web swing mechanics the best. And just swing through the entirety of New York, it was the game that for me defined open world gaming. And not to mention the fact that they actually had the movie cast come in and do the voices for the game. Stupendous. I'm just gonna go play it now. Just do it.
Number 2.
Now my number 2 is a lot less lighthearted than my last game because it's Red Dead Redemption. Now I grew up playing the first Red Dead Revolver when I was younger, but it was this game that just got everything right. Another open world game that was just amazing. I got to shoot bandits. I got to wrangle horses. I got to, you could rope hookers and put them on train tracks for all you care. But you had the entirety of the Old West at your hands, and you just got to do everything. Not to mention, it's one of the best stories I've ever played. The outlaw having to take in his old crew. It's amazing. Just play it. Just do it. Just do it. Play it. Just do it. Just do it. Come on, do it. Do it. Quit sitting there. Do it.
Number 1.
Now, I also have a favorite game franchise, and that takes me to my number 1. Arkham. Batman. Arkham Batman. The Arkham games are incredible. From the very small Arkham Asylum, which had one of the best combat systems of all time, to Arkham Knight, where you just get to be Batman. A lot of people didn't like the Batmobile, but it was a ton of fun. Come on, it's the Batmobile. But the game they got it right, and my number 1 pick, is Batman Arkham City. It was everything I wanted. I felt like I was Batman. I got to go through the city, and honestly, it's one of my favorite stories of any game ever. I cannot speak more highly of this game because, as far as I'm concerned, it is my game. I've played this game over 10 times. I've beaten it so often. I know every little nook and cranny of this Arkham City. It's my number 1, and it always will be.
Combo breaker.
Now, I have more than just 10 games that I love. There are some that just didn't make the list, and those include Psychonauts, which is a really cool, underrated game. Force Unleashed, in my opinion, the best Star Wars game. BioShock Infinite, it's really creepy. Guacamelee, a new game, but super fun side-scroller. Plants vs. Zombies. Now, it's not just an app game, it was also on the PC, and it was great. And Pokemon Black. I came into the Pokemon game a bit late. I'm not a classics guy. This is my favorite. Tepig was my first Pokemon. Get over it. Now, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It was a really hard list to make because there's so many games to love. If there are any you think I missed, please tell me about them in the comments down below. I would love to keep this conversation going a bit. If you guys like this, please like, subscribe, find us on Facebook and Twitter. All these links are going to be listed up here, so I think about. If you like hearing my really dumb voice but hate seeing my dumb face, check my podcast I do with my roommate called the Cluster Cuss. Link there also as well. Guys, please tune in next week. We're going to be watching The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Ha 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 ha. I'm super excited. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to get to see it with my mom. Alright guys, well I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week on The Weekly Wrap. Now if you'll excuse me. No!